Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. I think we finally found the one guy that's better looking than me and way more positive than me. We got Bobby in the house. What's going on, Bobby?
Nothing much, brother. I may be a little bit more positive than you, but that's where it ends.
Dude, it's so good. It's so good to have you back on. We had you back on in the day, Mr. Tom Donnelly. Thank goodness for this connection. But we're gonna have you back on. We're gonna catch up. We're gonna talk about, we might talk about the real estate market. We might talk about who knows what we'll talk about. So for the people that didn't listen, quick overview: where you are, who you are, what you do, and we'll get going from there.
All right. Well, I'm Bowtie Bobby, real estate expert extraordinaire here in the Central Florida area. Best-selling author of the book, Good Talk, Great Sales, which is all about relationship selling, which has evolved into kind of an investment strategy, pricing strategy, really expands a local market that seems to be kind of dampering. And things are going great for us.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, man. So, we talked recently, and a lot of people are traditionally just agents, right? And that's like the quintessential. But you've been in the game for a while, and y'all are kind of talking about doing something a little different, and see if you can kind of explain this strategy to position you in the marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely. For one, I'll let you know, I was doing some local number checks in our area from our local MLS, and our pendings probably 4 to 8 weeks ago were anywhere from 222 a square foot single family home to 441 a square foot single family home, between 1,500 and 2,500. So your standard house. Whereas in the last 2 weeks, they've been from 133 to 346, all other conditions the same, meaning literally the low end was trying to get a 40% hike on prices, as that's been checked. And on the high end was stretching about 20% higher, and that's checked. But the funny thing is, the whole thing about this blue ocean strategy is that these closings, these deals that people are getting with those different price per square foot are just in the last 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. So you don't need another run from 2008 to 2012 to finally get a good deal in what would be what you would consider the top of the market. If you strategize right and you really look at the market, or you're, as a buyer and seller, hire the correct agent that can do this for you, you can easily win and turn this crazy market into a dual market to sell at top dollar and get a good deal on what you want right now.
Well, what would you say? What do they say? It's the same shit. I can't find any deals, right? Isn't that what everybody says? How do you find deals? I don't know where deals are. Do you look under the car? Do you look under the rock? It's like they act like some deal is like some dinosaur that was in extinction. Like, the question that I have to ask you, you've been in the game a minute. Do you have to create the deal, or do you find the deal?
We find them because of the position we have, and there's a book for this kind of stuff. It's called Ask Who, Not How, right? So if you do something else for a living, you might want to talk to a professional like myself. And if somebody helped you buy a house in the last 2 or 3 years, and that's the same year they got their license, well, they probably might not be the ones to kind of help you foreshadow through some of the obstacles going forward. And that's actually what we're focused on. How to navigate through the noise and find opportunities when things don't look so opportunistic, because the last couple of years, it's been opportunistic for everybody. And now the buyers have drawn a line in the sand. And here we are with a 40% drop on the low end and a 20% drop on prices just in the last 2 or 3 weeks on high end. And we're in sunny Florida.
And so what would you attribute? I mean, obviously everybody knows the noise and they know what's going on out there with gas prices and all that stuff, but what would you attribute, you know, here's my issue with the market I just have in general. And I could say this is from the start of COVID. Nothing to me has made sense. And so I refuse to play the game because look, I'm all about speculation. I obviously do Airbnb. We have different ways to make more money. I'm all about that. But I also like to live in the fact of like, hey, this is a standard appreciation. This is a standard deal with this. Like, look, the market's going to do what the market's going to do. But how do you make sense of like I've always lived by the fact of like, if I can't play the game, like I'm happy to play the game outside the box. But if I can't play it with some, at least back up my numbers with some sense, I'm not going to play the game.
I like that. And to be honest, what I've seen recently is when I've come to realize is that the game is always being played. It's just different players, different pieces, different rules, even sometimes. And everyone's talking about interest rates as if it is an effect of something. But you and I would probably agree the interest rates aren't an effect. They're the cause. It's like we're consuming too much using borrowed money. And so the whole of the country is just spending too much. So to me, interest rates going up are the intentional cause to slow down the spending, because that is what's creating the inflation. And that's why it seems as though the stocks are still going down, but interest rates are still going up. And in Florida, anyways, I can't speak for every state, but as far as real estate goes, based on our state taxes, our state income taxes, our lower real estate taxes, at least now anyway, being that Florida has also always been the heavens waiting room, and we've got a 55 and up mobile home park every other block.
By the way, can I just say I'm made for one of these 55 up in communities. Like I go to bed at like 8:00. I get up at like 3. Like I would move it. I wish they would like lower the age for me. I would jump in there like automatically.
No, we all would. It's not bad living in there. And from an aerial view, if the HOA is looking around, they won't stop me, late at night. I'll fit right in with the 55 and up. But even that alone is an opportunity to redevelop. You and I have talked about tiny house development many times. Mm-hmm. But the way we see it is, if the market is definitely going up, you have a seller's advantage. If the market is definitely going down, you have a buyer's advantage. But if the market is turning or changing or slowing down, and by the way, if you're behind somebody in the car and they brake and you see the brake lights, are they always turning around? No, right? They could be just slowing down. They could be coming up to a light. They could see something in front of them and then just get paranoid, or they may be turning around. So as we see things slow down, or what I would call correct, because they were going way too fast, and inflation and fear is kind of doing that. I mean, the powers that be know what they're doing, but we need to be kind of fasting and not be gluttonous as we are to control the value of the dollar, the exchange, the cost of living. So in a sense, the pricing strategy is all you really need as a realtor locally to kind of help your client and get through and move through effectively what could be, a few months of cause and effect as far as the mindset of people. Because what causes supply and demand is, or the prices that happen like they are, is supply and demand. But what creates supply and demand is causation, meaning if I find out my neighbor puts his house on the market and in 2 days gets 100 offers and 100 over asking, that is going to have an effect going down the road with the next potential seller. Now, what they're hearing now is something different. So then that cause has to create an effect. So now the cause is, well, because of this, that, and the other, houses aren't selling as much. So then the same type of seller isn't selling. Probably somebody who is waiting in the wind to sell, but knowing in their heart has to sell, is really needed to make a move. And the worst they can do is hire an agent that doesn't have the foresight to use the crystal ball of the comps to help guide their agent going forward. And either that, or they just price it too high and create a continuation of this slowing down or stalemating of the real estate market.
I worry about real estate agents. I really do. There's two sectors of businesses I worry about. It's teachers and agents. And you've seen it. You have a lot of people on your team that you manage. I worry about new agents needing to get a deal done and not living in their boundaries or standards, and being, text or called or open house this day and everything. Is this something as an agent, for all the agents out there, is this something you learn over time, or is this kind of a mindset that you can take in the beginning of your career? Or is this just years of experience?
It's probably a little bit more of mindset of survival, adaptation, and aiming to always deliver value. So I never wanted to be the agent that got a deal because I asked more often than the next, or I was pushier, more persuasive, or more clever. I was always trying to create a system that added value that I could therefore turn into a product to differentiate myself. And, here we are today. But there's a supply and demand story that I'd love to tell. It only takes about 2 minutes if you think it'll be worth it. That really shows the innocence of the flow of value.
Before you tell that, please do, because I believe that nobody truly understands supply and demand. So this is a great teaching lesson.
Absolutely. Everybody either blames it on like the government or some sort of agenda. We really do it to ourselves and we don't even know it. And here the feds are raising rates to like help save us from ourselves, and we're enraged. So imagine you have 50 lawyers who are going to take the bar exam. But the rules of the bar exam are that you have to bring a pen to take your test or you fail. There are none extra. That is the expectation. So inevitably, the 50 agents show up, or the 50 lawyers, the attorneys. And then there's 3 proctors to help these 50 attorneys. And right before the test starts, one of the proctors raises his hand and says, "Hey, I just want to let everybody know you have to have a pen with you today to take this test. If you don't have it, I apologize. There are none extra. We have to excuse you from the class before we get started." Well, one of the attorneys raises his hand and says, "I forgot mine." Well, a second or two goes by, and one of those proctors remembers that he has an extra pen in his pocket. So he looks over at the attorney and says, "I have an extra pen. Would you like it?" Well, another attorney stands up because he's realizing he forgot his pen too. So he goes, "I forgot my pen. I'll buy that for $1. A third attorney stands up, realizing he forgot his pen also, and goes, "Wait a minute, I forgot mine too. I'll give you $3 for that pen." Proctor looks over at the third attorney, throws it over, says, "Congratulations." He gets $3. He takes his test. The other 2 go home. 48 people become lawyers. Now, fast forward a month. The buzz has been going around with the proctors. These idiot attorneys are going to show up. They're not going to bring pens. So go out of the store, buy some extra Bics, bring them in, and you'll make a fortune. Because if they don't bring their pen, they can't pass. Well, the other 2 people that had to go home told a bunch of stories about what happened. And the 48 people that passed told everyone they knew that 2 people had to go home. So more the word got out. Almost everybody brought their pen to this test, except for the out-of-towner. So all of a sudden, before these 50 attorneys are about to start their test, one of the proctors stands up and he goes, "All right, everybody, I got some extra pens here. If anyone forgot their pens, we're selling these here pens for $3 each." Well, everybody brought their pen except one guy stands up and he goes, "I forgot my pen. I'll buy it for $3. The other proctor goes, "Unbelievable. I went out and bought all these extra pens, and there's only one attorney that forgot his pen." So he stands up and he goes, "Well, you don't have to buy that for $3. I'll sell you mine for $2. The third proctor stands up and he goes, "Not going to happen here. I'm not going to be stuck with all these pens." Stands up, looks at the proctor, or looks at the attorney and says, "I'll sell you this for $1. Sold. He throws the attorney the same pen, different attorney, for $1. He passed the test. Everybody wins. That's it. That's supply and demand. That's cause and effect. That's how these prices keep going up. It's insane.
So that story highlights what it actually means. So the question is real estate dictate over supply and demand, or does it dictate over emotions?
it starts with emotions, and then the emotions create the supply and demand. It shifts. Buyers start to think like sellers, and sellers start to think like buyers, and then it flip-flops again.
But what I'm saying is, if you actually studied any history or read any book whatsoever, this is very explainable, every single bit of it. But by knowing this as a buyer or seller, right? Everybody is losing their mind, right now. Everybody's losing their effing mind. I've never seen more Airbnbs for sale. We are buying like you've never, like I might put 30 million in contract by the end of the year just because now I finally have what I want. You're freaking out, but hear me out though. But what we're not doing, just so we're clear, and you can have my playbook. What we're not doing is we're not spending that money on one single house. We're diversifying over commercial spaces, hotels, larger properties that have multiple cabins on it, because I don't want the demand to go down and I don't have options to make the property make money. I've always looked at a piece of dirt or land and said, how do I make money, and what are the different ways that I can look at it? If you're just a flipper or you're this, like you get caught and you get caught. But like I'm making sure that when I look at something, what are the 4 ways that I can make money, and what's the worst case scenario, and then I'll buy it from there. And I don't think a lot of people, and don't get me wrong, it's a lot. The price is bigger, but I don't know if it was Brandon Turner. I don't know who said it, but I saw a video a couple of weeks ago and he was like, I have a mentor. He's like, man, we're starting to buy some really expensive real estate. And he goes, well, just lose the number, lose the last 0. And he goes, what are you talking about? And so what he does to trick his mind is if he's buying a $70 million piece of real estate, he loses the 0 when he's doing the underwriting. So it looks like he's buying a $700,000 property and he doesn't even notice until he's already bought it. And I'm like, what a
like, genius. Millionaire mind games.
I mean, come on. So smart. Because at the end of the day, and I know this from working private equity, my boss always used to tell me, chase the $100,000 loan, no, kiss my, you know what? No. And so the first deal I ever closed was at 1.3 million. And I did the same amount of work. Actually, I did less work because that person was more organized and had their stuff together. It's a much easier, and this is about to be so crazy for people here. It is 9 million times easier for me to find 20 million than it is for me to find 1 million.
That's right. And you're almost always successful, I bet, because there within everything you just said is the realm of why the first mover's advantage works. Because the only thing that makes it sound like a dumb idea is the fear that we don't know the answer. That's why the first mover's advantage wins, because you start the trends. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I know 100%. Guys that bought in March of 2020 and made a few $100,000 already sold. Mm-hmm. Like,
well, the game is attachment, detachment from everything, possibilities endless, and then the right amount of team that's just crazy enough too. Because even my partner, he has this guns like, and don't get me wrong, I'll start a business like it's water, but he has this gunslinger attitude where he just doesn't. He's like, dude, we'll just make it. He's like, we don't even have a conversation to talk about unless we had the deal under contract. Like, what's even the point of having the conversation? For example, we put an offer in, true story, offer comes to us. My buddy, the client said, can you assess the value of my property? Okay, off market. Nobody knows about it because they're being sued. They have to sell it. This is like a bad partnership went bad. They have to sell it. And he literally texts me while he's at the meeting. He's like, hey, dude, you know that property that like we've always thought about? He's like, I haven't seen it yet, but the details look like it's that property. And so I said, put an offer. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, put an offer. I want to be first on the queue. He was coming to you as an agent for you to list it. And we're literally coming back an hour later with an offer. Like, let's go. And he can't talk about it. He can't sell it because he's getting, he has to go, the legal battle has to go, but at least I'm there at the head of the queue. And it's like, well, why does it make sense? Well, it's an RV park with cabins. It's like right in my wheelhouse. But I feel the same way about homes. Do you know how many conversations I've had with people where they're like, we go into this like 45-minute dissertation about the property and they're trying to get my expertise on an Airbnb. And I'm like, well, do you have it under contract? Well, no. Then what are we talking about?
Yeah, they're just dreaming.
It's like, dude, get it, figure it out, but ultimately understand that this is my advice to every young investor out there. Your first couple properties, They're nothing but practice.
And think about this. I mean, those people might be like, oh, we're taking a risk and this and that, and I don't want to do that. Let's talk about the conversation of the latter. Are you talking to anyone about how they can secure their safe job and how they should save their money, like a portion of their paycheck? And that's not a conversation you want to have with anyone either. It's like, read Profit First and save 10%. And hopefully in 10 years, you'll have enough money to put down on whatchamacallit and tell your kids to go to school and get a good job with GE. And that would be just as counterproductive as it would be talking about an investment strategy with somebody that didn't buy a house already or have it under contract, like it would be.
Well, you know what's crazy?
My lottery
the biggest investment that you need to have first is in yourself. The biggest investment that you need to sign the dotted line on who the heck you are and believe that it's way bigger than you could even think. That's the first deal you need to sell. And damn it, if it's not the hardest.
Even believing in the first step is believing in yourself. Good gracious. I just figured that out like 2 years ago when I met you.
My what's the new trend? How old were you when you figured out this? Like 2 years ago, to believe in myself. And it's amazing how much you can accomplish without it. But what's amazing how much faster you can move and how high you can fly once you're fully committed inside.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you know how many conversations, and I'm sure you have this all the time, people say, I've been looking for you for like 2 years and I thought it wasn't possible. And they're not talking about me, but what they're talking about is my belief in them and my energy to just say, we're just crazy enough because. Just crazy enough because maybe so, who knows? I'm flying down. I'll be in your neck of the woods in like a week. Yeah. And I'm super pumped. Never really spent any time there. It's going to be a whirlwind trip. And I have no idea where the money's going to come from. I just got a text, so that might help out a ton. But ultimately, all the people in the group are 100% committed into removing a couple things: ego and fear. And they're just saying, you know what, maybe it's my time, right? And my partners are a little bit older, but maybe it's my time to stop being the doorman. And they have 900 units, so it's not a small thing, but I'm like, maybe your level of partners needs to raise a little bit so you can do more. And not just kind of bide and right. And so I would imagine you leading your team, it's the same thing. You're telling everybody, y'all can run and hide if you want, but if we put our heads down and we do what we know we're good at and we don't let fear consume us, we this time, this 2 years, 1 year, 3 years, whatever it is, we'll come out stronger and we'll become as the go-to people in the marketplace. I would imagine y'all have had that conversation.
Oh my gosh. In fact, most of the realtors I talked to when I first got in the industry all started when the last, I should say the last as if something like that is happening again, but most of them got in 2006, 7, 8. And I'm thinking, shoot, you should have been gone just as fast as you were in. But it's these moments that absolutely, what do they say? Good markets hide bad realtors and bad markets reveal them. So a lot of people can lose money. The biggest expense when you sell your house is the money you leave on the table, and pricing strategies are crucial. Plus you have to have the right connections. For example, I had a closing today where I walked through the gentleman's house. He had been there for 17 years. It was completely torn apart. Wall to wall, just destroyed. Neither bathroom worked. None of the lights worked. The carpet was trash from everywhere. The walls were disgusting from floor to ceiling. The whole thing had been basically abandoned. Cabinets were kicked in. There was dirt and trash and hoarding stuff everywhere. You wouldn't have wanted to give this gentleman more than $250,000 for his condo. He heard about the Good Shepherds and how our contractors will go in there and do whatever needs to be done and get paid at closing. So we go in there. He was referred to me from a lender. We just closed today. We go in there, all new flooring, all new paint everywhere. Handyman went in there and fixed everything. New garage door opener, had to paint the inside of the garage, floor to ceiling. We paid for his first month of storage, got all his hoarding stuff out of there, did the move for him. Cleaning crew, you name it, we did it. Handyman stuff, lights, fixtures, fans, put about $17K. In 11 days, we got him $450,000 cash.
Fuck you. Sorry. I'm sorry. You got to be joking.
No, closed today. His name's Jack Johnson. And here's the best part.
Did he sing for you? No, I'm just kidding.
No, he cried, actually. You got to hear this part. This is the best part than the money. So as we're walking through his house, I'm looking at, I could barely see through like the goo all over the walls, but I could see lines and dates. And I go, do you have kids? And he goes, yeah, I have 2 daughters. And I go, how old are they? He's like 20 and 21. I said, what's that? And he said, well, I've lived here 17 years. When they were younger, I would measure them. I go, where are they now? And he's like, well, I got divorced. They went with their mother. I haven't seen them in years. And he started crying. So I just told you how awful the condition this condo is in. So I felt really bad. I'm a father as well. And so what we ended up doing was I had the painters, the Good Shepherd painters, they literally cut the wall out, removed those things, spent half a day replacing with brand new gypsum board drywall, mudded it in, didn't charge an extra penny for it, kept it all a secret. He gave it to me. I had that thing made into a little plaque thing and preserved and then put into a custom frame. And I gave it to him. I said, one thing you're going to want to keep from this condo are the memories of when you were raising your daughters. And he would just die. I didn't think he was going to make it. He's like, Bobby, I will never forget this as long as I live. I mean, he was, I've never been so happy to have a closing. And only when you have the right intentions and only when you're trying to add real value and not just suck dry any particular market could that kind of value happen. And I expect 1 billion referrals from that. But it's so gratifying to know that we got it done for him, made him money, kept his memories. He just he's going to buy a power wagon and a 5th wheel and travel the country.
I'll see him out on the road. I'm hanging out with him. That is the best fucking story I've ever heard. I'm sorry, I'm cussing because it's so amazing. I have to ask a question just from a tactical point of view, because I'm seeing this more than this is a tactic we've been using to close deals because we can't get the number they want. How did it work on the back end? How did you structure it? Like, obviously you took your agent commission, but did y'all get a part of what was added? Because we're doing what you're doing but we're doing it with companies. So like,
no, we didn't get any of it. Because I run a networking group locally. I just give referrals to my same, I call them power partners.
So the 17K came out for the remodel. They got paid. You got your commission, and he took home what was rest. Dude, y'all are gonna take over the freaking market. You know what? I already hear it. Good Shepherd franchise.
He sent me a picture of his bank balance, and he only had like $1,000 more than was wired. Like he was saying, he goes, Bobby, this is a life changer. I could go on and on and on, but it was really, to me, that's what this is all about. I mean, there's a million ways to make a living, but when you can make a difference, I think you can have both.
Yeah, 100%.
If you look at my Instagram, me shaking that guy's hand, that's him. And that thing in between us is his framed wall.
This is going to change the world, Bobby.
Anybody can do it. Any agent listening to this, go to your local market, talk to your vendors and your subcontractors and your contractors and say, hey, if I have a client in need, it doesn't have to be every time, but are you willing to do this? And I'll keep you in the loop on the numbers. I mean, honestly, you don't want to do this if they've got a first, a second, and a HELOC, and they think they're going to get $500,000 for their 1-bedroom condo. You know what I mean? You got to be smart about it. This guy had lived here for 17 years. He didn't even have a mortgage. He just needed a leg up. So there are people they are stuck in their own home and praying for a solution like this. And no matter what somebody is paying for a house, they're going to pay more if it's nice. So know your margins, know your market, sit down with your contractors, because if you can give them business, then that's reciprocity. They're going to give you more, but just be smart about it. And you can stimulate your own local market in any area, any state. I firmly believe.
Dude, it's amazing. So if people want to follow you, they want to figure out about how would they do that?
The Real Bowtie Bobby on Instagram, I think is you can go to geteverypenny.com if you want to get plugged into my CRM or look up the value of any properties in Florida. Bowtie Bobby P is my Instagram. And if you want to learn more about the relationship side of selling and you just got into real estate, Good Talk, Great Sales is a #1 bestseller on Amazon.
Finished the book in one day. It was amazing. It's so good. No, I did.
Oh, you finished it in one day.
Yeah, I did.
It's awesome.
Yes, I did. And I can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks or a week, whatever it is. So I'll see you. I'm super excited about it. Guys, if you like this episode, send it out to your friends, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.